Welcome to Motor Scream, and my name is Zahir, and today we are going to upgrade the most overlooked part on any high horsepower car. And in my scenario, we have a nearly 1,000 horsepower Supra, and the most overlooked part is what we're going to be upgrading today, which I'll show you just now. Today, we are going to be putting Cadillac brakes on a 30-year-old Toyota. On any high horsepower car, we often overlook the thing that keeps us from crashing into a wall, which are brakes, obviously. And in order to help this car stop when we're doing insane amount of speeds, we need bigger brakes than what are on this 30-year-old Toyota. And now, for that, there is a company that creates brackets and an upgrade kit to be able to fit bigger, more modern luxury or supercar brakes on something like a 30-year-old Toyota. And so today we chose to try to fit in a CTS-V Gen 2 6-piston caliper setup onto my Supra, and paired with this, we also have OEM Lexus ISF rotors by Akebono, and we also have a fresh brake master cylinder from Toyota. Again, these are really hard to find nowadays, and this is the 97-98 version, which has a bigger bore on the inside. Along with that, we have our brackets to be able to mount our calipers, and then the biggest thing that I think is overlooked is the pad choice. So we have OEM Brembo pads that are for the Cadillac CTS-V. Now, we will get into something about why there's a lot of misinformation about this online, but we are going to test the theory on if these are the actual OEM pads that come on a CTS-V, or there's an alternative option that we will talk about later. All right, first thing we need to do obviously is jack up the car and remove the wheel. Let's jack this up. Okay, so now we got the car jacked up and we put it on stands. Take the wheel off, and you really don't want to have these over tightened. I loosened them before we jacked it up because you don't want to ruin your lug nuts, especially on like a nice car. You don't want to get them all scratched up. So always loosen them by hand, and then you can use a gun to take them off. But we have the jack stand under. But you always want to try to put the wheel under as well, just in case jack stand fails. The wheel will catch your car because you don't want this to slam on the floor. Now, it should be as simple as taking the caliper off, and then we'll take the rotor off, and then we can mock everything up. So let me get some light in here, let's get some tools, and we'll get going. Okay, let's put a bucket there to catch all of our fluid when that happens. Let me see if this will fit. Yep, and I didn't even need a hammer. Look how nice that came out. So take these pins out. Right there, that's one. And there's also a spring tension clip that flew off. Sit right there. Then we have this pin on the bottom. Came off, real nice and easy. Then our pads. Brake fluid ruins paint, by the way, guys. So you don't want this to get anywhere near your car or drip anywhere. Getting it kind of everywhere. Okay, so We have one washer that goes in before, one that goes after the line, and it's a banjo bolt, which means that the fluid goes through here. Make sure we want to keep this because we are going to reuse this on the new caliper. That's off, and we'll let that drain. Shouldn't be much, but while that's happening, okay, cut that bolt. Yep, so our caliper should just pop right off. And that is what an LS400 caliper looks like, ladies and gentlemen. You can see how much pad life we have left. I would say about 40%, but we have even wear, which is pretty good. No weird dips or dents. And our caliper looks fine. Our boots don't look ripped. This caliper is only like a year old anyways. It's brand new from Lexus because these are the LS400 ones. So that is really nice. And now we need to take off our rotor, which I think we might have to hammer out, which I don't really want to. Oh boy. All right. So we're just taking out our old stuff and we just want to do a quick check. Everything seems to be okay. There's no lip on the rotor. There's no grooves. Our pads are halfway decent. Remember, this is a high horsepower car, so you will probably go through pads quicker than normal. These are EBC pads and rotors, so they are somewhat better than your normal OEM stuff, but they are nothing compared to the modern technology that we have today. And once again, our calipers look good, no issues with them. We got everything off, so basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean up this area, and then I'm going to start fitting up the bracket to see where we need to cut our caliper, because we need to add a little bit of modification to our CTS-V caliper for it to fit snug, and we'll talk about that more. All right, everybody. So a little update here is we took everything off, and now we need to kind of size up our bracket and label where we're going to cut on the CTS-V caliper. We have two brackets here. One is labeled L, one is labeled R. And the way the instructions say is that the letters don't matter as long as they are right side up when you're facing from the axle inward towards the motor. So I was looking at a few pictures, and this is, I mean, obviously it's right side up, and so technically the left one that goes on the driver's side should do it like basically sit like that. So on the other side we should see left. Now R is the passenger side, just in case it's easier for you guys, and then these bolts are supplied. I just kind of put them in by finger. They're not tightened or anything, because what we have to do is we have to take this massive caliper, and the whole idea is to have this fit like that, but you can see it's overlapping there, right? So because of that, we need to mark it and basically open, let me put this down so it's easier to understand. We need to open this whole area up to be able to fit. So I'll mark it and then you'll get a better idea. Okay, the instructions are a little confusing, but I think I got it. Make sure your bleeder nipple is faced upwards, just to make sure that your caliper is oriented properly. But you can see there where that black Allen head screw is, that is the area we need to clearance, right where my finger is pointing to. So, and once we clear that, this will fit there, and then we could put the bolt in. The bolt goes in through the back, and your caliper sits in front of the bracket. So let me show you what the markings to make sure that you guys understand what I'm talking about. So this is where we are planning to cut. We're going to use an angle grinder. I just taped all the seals and everything on the inside just to make sure there's no metal that goes anywhere. I'm probably going to put napkins in here too, just to make sure the threads don't get messed up, and then we'll get started on cutting this. So I kind of want to make a cut like this, and make another cut maybe like that. This is not gonna be fun. Here goes nothing. Yeah, well, that's some thick metal. That's for sure. I don't understand how I'm supposed to get to that. How to get to what? To make the cut like that. This cut? You're gonna cut like this. And then? And we'll use a chisel or something, knock it off. Alright, let's try it. I mean, that's the only way I can think of. Alright guys, so Zaire is cutting the caliper right now. So while he's doing that, I'm going to take out the brake master cylinder. So I already drained the fluid. There wasn't much in there because we already had it leak out from the brake lines once we removed the front calipers. But as you can see here, we have one connector here. We have those two lines that are there. And then this is kind of hard to see, but we have one nut here and one nut there that's holding it to the booster. And then after that, we should be good to go. So let's first go ahead and get these lines off. Then I'll get the sensor off. And then lastly, we'll take this off of the booster. And this is a 13. There we go. They're both 13s. One's tight, but we should be good. There we go. I think they're both broken loose. Almost. Almost. Let's get this one off first. There we are. That one's loose. I can remove that by hand now. This one. There we go. That one is also loose, hopefully. Yeah, spinning out of there, but that's okay. Hold this, and I'll spin this, yep. All right, so we're good on that. So now that that's loose, we're gonna go ahead and take the sensor out. And these are 30-year-old car problems. As you can see, the entire socket from the old one just came out. So let me get a pick so that I can separate that, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so as you can see, the whole sensor came out, but the sensor was actually never in there. So I don't know if you can tell right here, but it seems to be that there's some glue, maybe super glue or something. I know it's definitely not brake fluid because it probably would have evaporated and ate through this plastic, but someone glued that back into there. So this just ended up popping out really easily. And as soon as that popped out, this just fell out. It actually wasn't even locked in. So I don't really know how that was held on together. I think this glue, because it looks like there's glue on both sides, was just put onto this. So it's a good thing that we're replacing this, because I don't know if the sensor was even working or not. We didn't have any lights on the dash for it, but it's still good to know that we are now putting in a new one, and it is actually built into that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take off those two, I think they're 10 or 12 millimeter nuts, and get that off, and then I will show you guys the new one and show you what the housing is actually supposed to look like. All right, so I got a 12 millimeter on here. Okay. That one was pretty good. I did crack that one loose a little earlier. Nice. So, as you can see, Chase Bay's reservoir is in the way to get this one. So let me see if I can get a shorty on here, potentially. Otherwise we will have to use a wrench, which it's not too bad. They're not super tight, but it would be nice to be able to get this off with the ratchet rather than a wrench. All right, looks like I gotta get a wrench. So, yeah, okay. There we are. Tell me that's finger loose? Not yet, almost there. There we go. Make sure we don't drop this into the engine bay, because that would really suck. All right. There we go. There's one. And this one is hand loose. I was able to do that with the ratchet. But as you can see, we can get that out, put that here, and then I'm gonna put these back here just so I don't lose them, and we remember where they go. As you can see, brake master cylinders now out. And now let's go ahead and get the new one and get that put in. All right, guys, so we have them side by side here. As you can see, we have to take these bungs out because the new one did not come with any. And then also, remember how I mentioned this sensor, right? Well, as you can see on the old one, it looks like there was some glue or something that was kind of holding it in. As you can see, there's like a bunch of particles of glue and stuff that are in there. But the way that it's supposed to be, if we take a look at the new one, is like that. It's actually supposed to be inside of there. And as you can see, there's a little clip right there that holds it into there. So this shouldn't have came out to begin with, but it's okay, things happen. So now we're gonna go ahead and transfer these over. I did loosen them when I was taking out the lines in the car, but we'll go ahead and quickly transfer these over. These don't have any sort of Teflon tape or anything on them. I'm also out of Teflon tape. Probably recommend putting Teflon tape on these, but that's okay. If it didn't have Teflon tape before and it wasn't leaking, hopefully it shouldn't be leaking now. But we'll thread these in really quickly. And these are a 13 millimeter. So we'll crank these down pretty good. I'll also do that on the car, just so then we make sure that it's tight once it's actually mounted. But we actually do need to bench bleed this. I've never bench bled anything, but essentially from what I've seen, what you have to do is you have to get 2 hoses, put them into the reservoir, and right now the reservoir is empty, but fill this up with fluid all the way to the max, and then all you need to do is push this inside, and just keep pushing it, and that will push the air out and then circulate that fluid back and forth. I'm not entirely sure if that's the right way to do it. That's how Zaire told me to do it. So we're gonna figure this out together. Okay, so we are back. So Zaire had to get a Dremel to cut that properly. Okay, so as I said before he started to Dremel, but he's Dremeling that down right now. So you have to bench bleed this. As I said, I've never done this, but I have some hose. I just have this pushed up against here because you actually have to push the plunger, and then I just have a screwdriver so that I can push the plunger all the way down, and I have this rag so that I can hold this and make sure that brake fluid doesn't get everywhere. But I've been doing this for about 15 minutes now, and as you can see, we do have some small bubbles that are coming up, but essentially the fluid goes through. It goes through to the two hoses at those connectors, which are connected to the brake line technically inside the car, and it goes all the way up back into the reservoir, and you just continue to do that until you stop seeing bubbles. So as you can see, just pushing that in. Don't know if this is right or wrong. So what Zaire told me to do. He said he's done this once before. So this is how we're gonna do it. And now, as you can see, we have no more bubbles. Alright, so as you can see, we got a bench bled. I put the sensor in, and now we just have to tighten everything back up. As you can see, everything is loose right now, but we're just going to do everything in reverse order. And tighten the nuts, and the new brake master cylinder is on. Okay, Naveed, tell them where we're at. Okay. Yes, I have glasses on glasses. But, so this was cut. Not done very well, but it clears. I didn't cut it. So now we were just sanding down the edges to make sure that it's not super sharp, just in case whenever we go to service this, we don't cut our hands or fingers or anything like that. I'm trying to cut this down some more, and then we just have some spray paint that we're going to be putting on here, because obviously this is bare metal. As you can see, it was painted silver prior, but we've grinded that down significantly. I know it doesn't look pretty, but Zaire used an angle grinder, then tried to use his Dremel that the bit just broke off of, and it cleared, so I guess we're just going to run with it. It doesn't really impact the braking power or anything. Okay, so it's the next day. Yesterday, we basically disassembled everything, took the old calipers and brake pads and rotors off, all that stuff, drained all the fluid. Naveed also replaced the brake master cylinder as well with the fresh 97-98 Supra OEM unit. And then we spent the rest of the time grinding down the Cadillac CTS-V caliper, which, if you guys can see, there's this entire piece that we basically cut off. And if you, hopefully you'll be able to see that in the camera, but we tried our best to grind it down. We used an angle grinder. We also used a Dremel, and all of those things combined, we got it to this state. It's not perfect because the metal is so thick that it took, a long time, and it took multiple discs in order to get it like this. But we finally got it. We also used a bench grinder to clean up the surface, and then Naveed just hit it with some primer just to make sure it doesn't rust. Although it's aluminum, and I don't think it's ever gonna rust, but he's being anal about it. Anyways, now let's talk about the differences amongst the CTS-V package and the 30-year-old Toyota Supra package. This right here is the Lexus LS400 brake package, along with the EBC rotors and pad, and I think these are yellows, EBC yellows. And this is a common upgrade for guys that have the NA Supra that didn't come with the turbo wheels and the turbo package or the turbo variant, whichever way you prefer. So you did not get the big brake kit, and so this is basically a Supra turbo brake kit, which is beefier 4-piston calipers. You can see that still leaking a little bit. That's okay. And you can see our pad size, and then you can see our rotor. Now, moving on, and the reason why people do this upgrade so much, let me just get a towel here and clean this up. The reason why people do this upgrade so much is because with high horsepower cars, you also need bigger brakes in order to stop properly. And so the remedy for that is somebody came up with a bracket or a system to be able to fit CTS-V brakes onto a Supra. So right off the bat, you can tell that the brake rotor is much, much bigger than the LS400 rotor. And this does not come off a Cadillac. This actually comes off a Lexus ISF. And I believe it's a 16.5-inch rotor. And then you could also take a look at the brake pad. This is an OEM CTS-V brake pad from Brembo. It's actually from AC Delco, but we'll get into that later. And you could just tell the sheer size difference between these two. It should make a massive difference. So hopefully, once we get these on, it'll be a big difference. And then the MVP of the entire thing is going to be the CTS-V caliper, which is a 6-piston caliper, and it looks absolutely massive, brand new. And then again, we had to grind off this little section of the ear in the back to be able to fit it onto our brackets. And these brackets, obviously, there are a bunch of companies that make them. They're all very similar, and you can get them anywhere online. So let's talk about the brake pad controversy. Okay, so while Naveed installs our brake pads, I want to talk a little bit about the brake pads specifically. Basically, what happened is a lot of people run the CTS-V pads. Well, you have to because you have a CTS-V caliper, duh. But they usually run the Brembo pads, and I found out that there's a massive price difference between the Brembo pads and the pads that you can get from a dealership like GM, AC Delco, whatever, right? So if you go online and go to the Brembo website, you can get these pads from Brembo for 150 bucks. Now, when you look up the AC Delco part number or the GM manufacturer part number from the dealership, they come out to being like 420 bucks. And I was like, why? Like, what is the difference? And so I started reading, I started looking on forums, I started looking on Facebook, Reddit, you name it. And I found out that there are markings inside of the pad. So if you can see here, we have a FER HP 1000 FF, and then it says Brembo, and then the corresponding part numbers. So if you were to get this from Brembo's website, these markings or these numbers are different. And because they are different, they end up using a different compound for the brake pad. Thus, cheaper compound on the brake pad, cheaper price for the brake pad. So the pad that you get from Brembo's website has a different pad material than the one you get from GM. Now, I wanted the best braking possible. I didn't want to cut any corners. I didn't want to do any of that because for a high horsepower Supra, you need all the braking that you can get. And especially since we're only doing the fronts, I wanted to get the best pads that I could. And outside of going like Carbon Tech or any of those crazy carbon fiber pad materials that are like $600-700 bucks for just the pads, I ended up going with a AC Delco GM original CTS-V pad, which again still is like, you know, even with all the discounts and stuff that I could scour on the internet, it still was like 400 bucks, which is pretty insane. But you know, this is what's gonna, you know, stop you from doing triple digits, and hopefully, you know, it's worth it. But no one that I know has ever tried it, so I'll be the first one to use this type of pad. What I'm looking for is a good initial bite and something that lasts long and also doesn't, warp or overheat very quickly. Because when we start doing spirited driving, like we go to the tail or on back roads and things of that nature, we will be using the brakes quite a bit. And here's the part number for those that are going to be looking for it. But let's get back to it. I think we're going to have Naveed wrap it all up, and then we'll start bleeding the brakes and then hopefully go for a test drive.
Okay, so as you can see now, the caliper is mounted. We torqued it, and we made sure that everything was good. This kit is really nice because it comes with all brand new hardware. So we have new pins, we have the new cover on top, and then I don't know what this is called, but we had to pull the factory one off of the caliper. So we got a new one of these, and then if you also notice, it has some red Loctite on it. So we're gonna go ahead, throw the pads in there. Just got some grease, gonna put grease all over the back, slide these in, and then put the rest of the hardware on there, and we should be good to go.
Let's try from 60 again. Oh yeah. I never had my rears ever slide out on me on braking, so I guess that's good. After going for the initial test drive, now I can say confidently that these brakes are well worth the upgrade. The braking power is much better, there's no fade, the initial bite is there that we've been chasing all along. So if you ever contemplate on upgrading your brakes for your Supra, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 modification that anyone should be doing. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the clips. Motor Scream out.